When it comes to superhero powers, I'm sure we could all list off a few for the mainstream folks. But what about those hidden powers that only pop up every once in a while? While I don't think I've read enough comics yet to know every single power for every single soup ever, I think I managed to wrangle some interesting info for y'all today. Question for you, what superhero ability are you absolutely positive that you're the only one that knows about it? Let me know in the comments and let's test my knowledge together. I thought I knew it all when it came to Superman, but I had my mind absolutely blown today. The Silver Age was a weird time for the Man of Steel. In addition to his usual superpowers of flight, super strength, invulnerability, heat vision, and super breath, writers often gave him a plethora of bizarre powers for individual stories. Whether it was using super muscular control to change his face's appearance, or using his super mind to telepathically control others, the pre-crisis Superman could seemingly do anything. You heard me right, I think it was in Action Comics issue 55 and various Golden Age stories, this guy couldn't just change the shape of his face, but in some cases, his entire body. In early adventures, he used to disguise himself as a disgraced sports player, an alien creature, all of which begs a pretty obvious question. Why on earth would he rely on a pair of nondescript glasses to hide his identity when he could just change his face? That's gonna stick with me. One of his most bizarre powers was the super kiss. Look folks, consent is a beautiful thing, and this is a weird gray area that launched my eyebrows into space faster than you could say kryptonite. Superman first used the super kiss in Action Comics issue 306, when he planted one on Lois Lane so hard it left her dizzy, flushed, and sweating profusely in the middle of the Daily Planet's Christmas party. While the rest of the planet's staff wondered why Lois couldn't suddenly walk, Clark was like, I'm going to congratulate myself on my secret tongue talents. His tonsil hockey talents were then showcased in Superman 2 when he planted a kiss on Lois to make her forget that they had shacked up in the Fortress of Solitude for a couple of weeks. Thankfully, this creepy superpower hasn't been seen since, because I'd be freaking out if it did. Has anyone ever counted how many versions of Wolverine's claws there have been over the years? They're one of the deadliest weapons in the Marvel Universe, and over the course of the character's history, he's seen nearly as many upgrades, alterations, alternate versions, and imitations of his claws as he changes his ever-shifting backstory. Of course, as the saying goes, some Wolverines are more deadly than others. The Fireclaw's version of Wolverine, imbued with the powers of Ghost Rider, not only looks amazing, but the idea of being slashed with those flaming claws is legitimately nightmarish. Considering the absolute havoc these claws have the potential to wreak, anyone coming face to face with this iteration of Wolverine is in major peril, including, a lot of folks. While the relative deadliness of some characters versus others can and should be debated, it is inarguable that a Wolverine with claws made of literal burning hellfire is one of the most dangerous creations in comic lore. Also, don't confuse them with his hot claws, which is a version that glows white and is super hot, and takes the deadliness to an entirely unparalleled level. Aside from being able to cut through anything and everything, this Wolverine would need to do little more than gently poke the average person with even the tip of one of his claws, and it would result in their immediate death. In the same vein as the Fire Claws, the Hot Claws have the edge because while the Fire Claws could possibly be difficult to be precise with, the Hot Claws allow Wolverine to be as meticulous with his kills as ever. Ooh! While we're on the topic of fire, did anybody know that Luke Cage can actually make fire? So ever since the popular show came out on Netflix, we all love him. We first saw him in the Jessica Jones show, then he got his own show, and we were like, heck yes. We know he's superhumanly strong, and being injured doesn't really faze him, but he can create fire. So in one scene we see him walk out of his bar, on fire, he's unharmed, but what we don't see is him being able to rub his hands together, create enough friction, and make flames. Okay, imagine this. If Luke Cage holds, say, a pencil or a stick of wood, then by sliding the wood through his hands, the wood would catch fire because of friction. It's the same premise as cavemen making fire, or how Tom Hanks made it in the movie Castaway. Luke's ability to make fire could have aided him in several situations, or just like, could be fun for a campfire. Okay, either I fell asleep during the Thor movies, or I just somehow completely missed his pet goats? Curse you MCU for taking away an element of this character that would only serve to make him more of a Disney princess than he already is. Much of Thor's powers and arsenal comes straight out of Norse mythology. There's of course his weapon, and his much more infrequently used Belt of Strength that temporarily imbues him with even greater strength. Then there's his mystical chariot, which he can instantly summon to travel in between the 9 worlds. The chariot is unique because it's driven by 2 large goats. Both of them have been shown to be extremely intelligent in various comics. Once Odin used the goats to summon reinforcements, while another time they saved Asgard's offspring when the city was attacked by invaders. One mythological aspect that hasn't carried over is that Thor often eats the goats before battle and then resurrects them the following day using Mjolnir. Okay, never mind that comment earlier about Disney princess energy. Eating your own pets is more Disney villain category and super weird. Oh, you know what? I know what I was thinking when I said Disney princess, and somebody forgot to tell me that Wonder Woman can talk to animals. Yes, I know, all her abilities are super cool, but talking to animals is so precious. And we've been robbed of that on screen. Technically, we saw a bit of this during Linda Carter's run as the DC heroine when she was shown speaking with a bird in one episode, and it's been a prominent Wonder Woman ability in the comics as well. So since she's a favorite of Zeus and other gods, these Greek gods granted Diana several superhuman abilities, and among them, the power to communicate with animals. So in the comics, you can see her speaking with like all types of creatures, tigers, lions, you name it. It's unlikely we'll get to see Wonder Woman speak to animals on the big screen anytime soon, since DC is restructuring at the moment, but despite being a rather obscure superpower among fans, it's so cool! Okay, let's move away from the big guys for a moment and focus on a personal favorite hero, or villain depending on your point of view, Homelander. So in the boys comics, his powers include heat vision, super strength, durability, flight, super hearing, and enhanced vocal cords. He also ages more slowly than a normal human thanks to Compound V. He also has X-ray vision, which enables him to see through anything except for stuff that has zinc, which, haha, I see that Superman nod. But in the show, I don't think we've really seen any reference to his enhanced vocal cords yet, or maybe I'm totally having a mind blank. Maybe that's something we can hope for in season 4, since it's almost here. Okay. Back to Marvel we go, with everything you forgot you knew about Captain America. Cap was the third Marvel superhero to be brought into the MCU. Iron Man and Thor both made very strong appearances, but the story of Steve Rogers becoming the big hero he is today was heartwarming to a lot of fans. There is a reason he's my favorite MCU soup, and the only one I've technically cosplayed. Through his trilogy and the Avengers films, we get to see a lot of his abilities like super strength, healing, speed, and more. One thing we don't get a lot of explanation about is his super heightened vision, which enables him to see further, sharper, and more quickly than normal humans. I feel like this really could have come in handy in more than a few instances, but I guess it was too much to translate on screen. One thing we see but don't really realize is that Cap can literally never get tired. He sleeps and everything, but he is totally immune to fatigue, which really helps you understand how he's so on the go during a fight. Yes, it's a little more subtle, but it's totally worth a mention in my opinion. Seeing as Spidey in the MCU is the third time in recent history that the webhead has made it to the big screen, I'm pretty sure people who aren't Marvel fans know the ins and outs of Spider-Man's most basic abilities. Heck, back when I knew next to nothing about superheroes, I could name a few of them. But today I learned about a handful that I'm surprised haven't been brought to the screen more. One thing we're very rarely shown is his ability to communicate with spiders, similar to how Ant-Man communicates with ants. Since he has all their climbing, webbing, and heightened senses, it adds up. I know arachnophobes everywhere just shuddered, and well, I'm right there with ya. Still weird that someone who is a spider in every other sense of the word hasn't really been seen talking to the creepy little buggers. Okay, how about in the comics, Peter actually has premonitions. As someone who is always fighting crime and evil, I'm betting this comes in handy for not being fired at or injured. I think he might have used this ability in Infinity War, which is why he seemed so panicked and knew he was fading away, but I'm not positive. Hey, Kevin Feige, wanna weigh in? Please? Another curious one that I'm surprised isn't used more, his ability to grow extra limbs. He might be able to do a lot, but extra limbs aren't as helpful of a skill as one might think. I don't think this has happened in the MCU, but back in a 1971 comic, Spider-Man one day woke up with 6 limbs. Eventually he was saved with an antidote made by Dr. Kirk Connors, but damn, I think it's safe to assume he didn't go to high school that day. Oh, and before I forget, at one point in the comics, he actually had fangs and even stingers coming out of his hands. Eventually he realized that it was a bit much. Too much spidery and less human, so he was like, okay, we're done. Which, smart move, dude. One lesser known ability about Loki is that the guy can freaking fly. His power of manipulation allows him to levitate, meaning that, technically speaking, he can fly! I'm not sure why he didn't pull this trick out while standing off with Thanos. Come on. Another surprising one, he has super speed abilities. As half frost giant, he has amazingly quick reflexes, thinking abilities, and agility, which means he can probably take down anybody he wants, he just doesn't want to. Ooh, almost forgot. He doesn't look like it with his lean figure, but he has super strength, just like Thor. Okay, he might not be as strong as Thor, but he's still a god and a frost giant, making him far stronger than any mortal human. As a trickster, he uses more of his intellectual powers than brute strength, so we don't get to see him lifting up a car or a building. But he can. Okay, how about I end today with a supervillain just to change things up? Did y'all know that Electro was able to control minds? Context, Maxwell Dillon was working as an electrical engineer, but when he was repairing a power line, he was struck by lightning, and that transformed him into Electro, one of Spider-Man's most dangerous villains and a member of the Sinister Six. With the ability to create and manipulate electricity, one of his hidden powers is the ability to Mind control. Theoretically, since Electro can manipulate electric currents, he is able to control a person's brain by controlling their neurons. Neurons, or nerve cells, are cells in the brain that transmit and process data through electric signals. It's possible that in that attempt, Electro could fry somebody's brain, but if he focuses just right, Electro could easily be confused for a telepath. One of his favorite forms of attacks is to directly electrocute someone with electric energy blasts. But little does he know that the fight could be over without him breaking a single sweat. Okay, nobody tell him. And that's it for me once again, folks. I've been Alexa, your resident emo girly. Peace out, nerds. And hey, make sure to show this video some love if you ever want to see me again.